Welcome to the show, Carmen Milagro. You are a founder, lyricist, producer, and band leader for Blue Moon Gypsies, bringing West Coast styled country music, diverse and multicultural sounds. You're also behind the concept and creation of Divina World Foundation, an author of Truths About Hemp CBD, a guidebook for curious folks, as well as a wellness coach. There's a ton of stuff to talk about with you. Thank you so much for joining us, and please do tell us more.
Well, first of all, thank you so much that you did your research, I see. And thank you so much for having me on the show. I think what you're doing is incredibly important. So I was very excited to be invited to be on. So thank you.
Wow. You're a lyricist.
I am.
What's the topics like?
A lot of it has to do with observations of life and, of course, things that I've experienced as well. A lot of it has to do with some injustices in the world.
So social conscious music.
A little bit. Yeah, a little. It's who I am, really, at the end of the day. I think most writers write what they know, what they feel, what they see, what they observe, and what they absorb from the world.
That's right. Music for Global Change is about lyrical content that heals, educates, and solves problems. I'd love to hear some of your songs in that realm, if you have them.
Sure, we can do that.
Yeah? Do you have some already recorded?
I do. There's, I have some on iTunes, of course, and some YouTube videos, and, yeah, thank you.
So what do you feel about social conscious music?
I think most music is that. I mean, I'll give you a perfect example how I view this topic. When we were all, of course, in lockdown, when the world was shut down, and I am not in any way trying to diminish our first responders in every other area, but I also feel that musicians were the first responders as well. Can you imagine what we all went through if we didn't have the technology for artists to go online and perform and sing and heal the world through their music? And they were doing it for pennies. You ask for donations and you do the best that you can. But at the end of the day, I think most artists and musicians and singers and performers, you have to do it. But at a time like that, I can't imagine having gone through what we all went through as a human race without musicians sharing their words, their music. And thankfully, we had the technology to do that.
Yeah, it's the new frontier.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Can you imagine? I mean, really, if you stop and think about it, all those artists that were creating all that music, all that pain, all that hope, all that joy, if we hadn't been able to share it on Zooms and other platforms, the world was already silent as it is, and we were already isolated as it were.
Yeah.
So to me, artists and musicians are first responders in that sense.
Of course, especially lyrically. Music is the thing that you feel. The instruments and all that stuff like that, and there's 12 notes and the melodies, that's something you feel. The lyrical content tells the story. I mean, music is great by itself, and lyrics are great by themselves, but when they're accompanied by something else, even if it's a guitar or a piano or whatever, right? It brings emotion. When you're watching a movie, you're not really thinking about the music until it gets to that intense part. Then gets your attention, right?
Right, of course.
It's certain instruments, if it's a sexy part, they put on some saxophone. If they want to make you cry, they use the violin. See, it's certain instruments that bring that emotion like that. And now when you put the lyrical content on top of it, it goes to a whole nother atmosphere.
I think music is our social conscience. It's the megaphone for what we're feeling inside, what we're being. That's my opinion.
That's right.
I remember in school, I love school. I was one of those geeky kids, but I really loved. Now, I'm going to go back a little bit because when I first went to school, I didn't speak a word of English. So Spanish is actually my first language.
Oh, wow.
So from
Okay.
so from kindergarten through second grade, I had phenomenal teachers who took the time to tutor this little roly-poly Latina girl and wanted to catch her up. And for whatever reason, even without speaking each other's language, I used to hum a lot as a little girl.
Okay.
All the time, just constant little buzzing, this little bumblebee of buzzing.
Hmm.
And I don't know if that was it. I suspect maybe that was, because the humming would turn into, little notes. And I think that perhaps that was what they saw in me as potential. And perhaps they thought this little child needs to learn English to put words to that. Maybe I'm romanticizing the whole experience, but that's what I feel happened. And they set me on that course. And I was just so lucky, Skyler. I was so lucky with the teachers that I had. But my second grade teacher in particular, she was a former British actress. Her name was Mrs. Mrs. Lynn Swanee.
Okay.
And she was, our second grade teacher. And at that time in school, we had one teacher the whole day. And every single day after lunch, she would read us the most incredible stories. And her voice was so lyrical. This is what made her so special. Every character in the books, like The Secret Garden, which to this day is still one of my favorites.
Okay, she had that kind of talent.
Runaway Ralph, all of those, Alice in Wonderland, Alice in the through the Looking Glass. She acted out all of those characters, and she would sing.
Oh, wow.
So for me, that was magic. And it was the power and the beauty of words. That's how I got to travel around the world. First was through books and reading and words, people's descriptions. Also exploring mystical, beautiful fairy tale lands and, places filled with elves. And I'm just, So to me, the power of words and the power of lyrics, and then taking that and putting them to music, to me, that's the greatest level of magic that human beings can get to.
I love it. Tom?
Well, I want to know a little bit more about the Divina World Foundation. In your own words, can you sum up what the foundation does? I know it's a non-profit organization. What's its key ethos, and what kind of things you guys do?
Thank you. Yes, I'd love this opportunity to share this with you, because I think we're so much in alignment with what you're all doing. So the idea for Divina World Foundation, the overarching goal, is to create the first virtual Indigenous and Latino World Music Hall of Fame, followed by the actual physical building. And this is the part about building this virtual world for Indigenous artists, Latino artists, because Indigenous artists tend to be not showcased by society in general. I'm not just talking about Native American music for the US. I mean, Indigenous from around the world. And I feel like we need a place where we can showcase first. We do not exclude any type of music or musician, but we want to highlight the roots of our music, where it came from, the different segments of the globe, where everything came from, So I think that is really the way to hopefully unify and stop the divisiveness, is to just share with people. I think there's certain elements of all societies that do bring people together, music being one of them, food, festivals, culture. When you just take away all of the unnecessary political, all the other stuff that's designed to keep us separate, I think we have a better chance of also helping people and helping one another heal and helping to bring resources to people that need it.
Yeah.
For me, that's really the overarching goal for Divina World Foundation. In fact, we're launching our first annual Indigenous World Music Talent Search. So we're really excited and really happy to do that. And that's sort of the stepping stone to creating the Hall of Fame and getting the word out.
Let's start from somewhere. I love it.
Having read up a little bit on Divina World Foundation, I love this one. You are change makers, advocates, and solutionaries. Solutionaries is a great word. So you're working as a team with lots of others that are doing this. Is that right?
Correct. Yes. And I borrowed the term solutionaries from the founders of Regeneration Media and Green to Gold Global. Green to Gold, that's green2gold.org. Wow, they've been in existence for 54 years. And he was the co-founder of Earth Day. Oh, okay. And so Professor Alan Tratner and Michael DiMartino, Regeneration Media, they're coming together. Green to Global already has a membership of 100,000 members worldwide. And so for Divina World Foundation to be under their umbrella and part of this ecosystem made perfect sense for us. You know, we're all trying to help each other heal.
Go in the same direction.
Yes, thank you. And share those resources and ideas and solutions for people to utilize in their own life, in their own country. And music is the foundation.
Well, I mean, it's the #1 language in the world. I've never been to a country that didn't have music.
Correct. Right.
You know what I mean? And I love going to see instruments that I've never seen before. And then you mash them into what we're doing, right? Some different beats on some of their instruments.
Right.
But always with the lyrics about healing and education and solving problems. What we're doing here in Music for Global Change, ours is going to be positive social conscious music.
Correct.
You can talk about issues and all that stuff like that. That's cool. We're going at, you know what, life ain't all bad.
I love it. And I agree 100%. And that's not to say that we're burying our heads in the sand, obviously. It's just that there's a different way, I believe, which I think is what you're saying too, is we're not ignoring the dark or the bad or, you know, the things that are hurting us, because I don't think that solves any problems. But I do think that approaching things from as positive perspective as you can possibly muster under whatever those circumstances are helps you to build on that positive and the hope. I think the hope is what's key for me in when I write about things that I've observed, like Soul in the Mirror, for example, is a song of mine that I wrote, 15 years ago. Or no, it was longer than that, actually. But I had taken a trip to Mexico with some friends. You know, we were enjoying ourselves. We were on vacation and we took a tour bus. And I can't remember the name of this little town, but we went to, and it was, I don't know if it's still the same, but it's world renowned for this beautiful church that, you know, people go to from all over the world, making these pilgrimages. And when we got there, my heart just broke. My heart just broke into a million pieces because you couldn't take your first step off the bus without being surrounded by all these children who were begging. You know, they had their bellies, extended bellies, because you knew that they were malnutrition. They didn't have shoes on their feet. They barely had clothes. They were not clean. You could tell they didn't have access to quality of life, fresh water, etc. But they had 15 armed guards around this church. And yes, it was lovely and it was beautiful. And I appreciate art just like everyone else. But I couldn't reconcile the fact that the reason they had 15 armed guards around the church is because inside, what everyone came to see is this beautiful altar made of solid gold.
Yeah.
And my heart, I couldn't reconcile the value placed. And again, it's a beautiful, handcrafted, beautiful piece of art. If you want to look at it that way, an altar made of gold, there's that value. But I couldn't reconcile what I felt and what I saw with the children starving and that value placed on this object. And I never went into the church. but I wrote Soul in the Mirror about it. And
Right.
I do think that we as humans, we place some very crazy values on things. And
Yes, yes, and they're telling you this is what you're supposed to do, right? Like, Bill Gates has a $644 million boat. Yeah, and you think about them little kids you just saw, right? It just don't match up. It just
right. And I understand, don't get me wrong. I believe that everyone has the right. You earn your money. I believe you have the right to do with it what you want. I just feel like perhaps if you are more exposed to these stories and the stories behind the human people, the humans that are suffering, perhaps if your heart can open up a little bit more, and maybe that's the job of a certain song or a certain music video, maybe that is what can help people change their perspective a bit. I'm not by force.
I was just on Zoom with 14 countries, and they're taking one of my songs that I wrote with Michael Jackson's cousin to be the theme song for Africa Food. We're going to feed a lot of people. There's 200 million malnourished kids today. And wait a minute. We can buy bombs and everything else, but you can't feed the people. Yeah, wait a minute. This the part that really pissed me off. When they found out how much money they spent on the Iraq war, it would have fed everybody on the planet for the next 30 years.
That's how I felt with this experience. I felt like if you melted down that altar, you could change lives of several generations of those children and that village. I do believe we can, if we wanted to, as a human race. I do believe that we could nourish every single child. I think it is possible.
Every human being has to have water and food. Come on now. With all that money y'all got out there, all them billionaires, y'all can't figure that out?
But we're going to the moon.
How about that?
Mm.
We haven't brought anything back yet. Tom?
Well, I just want to know a little bit more as well about Blue Moon Gypsies. If you can tell us sort of when that started and kind of what maybe the instrumentation you've got within the group.
Sure. We're in the next evolution of Blue Moon Gypsies. My writing partner from over almost 20 years passed away.
Oh,
and
wow.
so for me, it's been a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
I've just needed some time to sort of regroup and redirect.
Yeah.
But what we really wanted to do was we took our experiences from my previous band.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually semi-retired. That's really how Blue Moon Gypsies started. But during the pandemic, Rich Armstrong and I, he's an incredible multi-instrumentalist and composer and our music director. And, don't get me wrong, we knew each other for a long time, and we worked really well. We figured out that what was most important about our relationship and our friendship was actually the band and the music and the creation of what we were doing. So during the lockdown, we both sort of had a conversation. I said, I want to sing country. I love country music, and I always have. And he used to not like it. So it never occurred to me to ask him, because he was so adamant about it in the past.
Right.
And of course, he got a little insulted. How come we're not working together on this? And I said, because you don't like country music. Well,
Right.
I've changed my mind. So
I love the way it changes up like that, because Prince was doing all this, like funk music and stuff like that, right?
Oh, amazing, right?
and
Amazing. Yeah.
And then Warner Brothers say, okay, what record you gonna do now? And he goes, I want to do a rock record now. And they thought he was crazy.
Mm.
Man, wait a minute, these girls going crazy, man. You want to do a rock record? But I'm gonna show you how karma worked, because back then his contract was about to expire, but they owned his name of Prince. Do you remember when he started being formally known as Prince?
Oh,
right.
That was brilliant.
Yeah.
That was brilliant, right? And then, but wait a minute. As soon as he got his name back, what's the first record that he did? Purple Rain. It goes to show you how crazy those executives was at Warner Brothers, telling them not to do that.
Mm.
I know. Well, Rich Armstrong, my writing partner, loved him, like absolutely, just loved him absolutely 100%. So there was a lot of that in common. But yeah, so Blue Moon Gypsies, we started that project during the pandemic.
Mm.
We tried to rehearse via Zoom and realized that lag time was not going to work. So eventually, we isolated. We made sure we created our own bubble, and then we started rehearsing. We met up every single Tuesday in San Francisco at Music City.
Yeah.
And we designated our partnership really, really well this time, and because we had learned from the past. He was the musical director. Rich Armstrong did this. Carmen Milagro did this. And we were really excited about it. But at 55, we lost him. He had a heart attack.
Yeah.
He was just about to get ready for his tour that he was leaving on the next day. It was a huge, huge loss for the community here in the Bay Area.
He was just like an amazing talent. And that's what I tell people in the Bay Area all the time. You have to go somewhere else. You can always go home, but you need to go to other places and let them feel your talent. You know what I mean?
I agree with you. I learned that lesson with Milagro. I was very fortunate to be able to get a residency in Japan. And it was life-changing. It really was to be able to.
And you in somebody else's culture.
Yes.
But the music is so powerful. It doesn't matter what kind of language you're speaking. I tell Tom all the time, I was with the Commodores and I was doing 3 Times a Lady, 18,000 people, right? And they were all singing with me with flashlights.
Right.
Wait, but when I got off the stage, I couldn't have a conversation with them. See? That's
right.
Bless you for the privilege of your time, my sister, for coming on.
Thank you so much. This was wonderful. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very honored and flattered. Thank you.
Blessings.
Just want to ask, Carmen, if you can get any kind of information for our viewers, maybe on kind of social media that perhaps you're on, or websites that you guys have got, just to show what you guys are up to.
Oh, that would be fantastic. And if there's any musicians out there that want to be a part of the talent search, that just go to divinaworldfoundation.org. Okay. The submissions will be accepted starting July 8th. We'll do that for a week. And the grand prize is a global 30-minute virtual performance from your studio, from your hometown. But you'll be broadcast to 12 different countries, 5 different continents, over 20,000 viewers. That's the grand prize. There is the registration process, all of that. There's a $60 USD donation to Divina World Foundation. This is our fundraiser. But we are producing that segment for you, and it'll be from the Earthstock Summit this year, which is in Crestone, Colorado. And that's in August. So the performance will be on Saturday, August 24th. And it's leading up to the Earthstock Music Festival of 2025. So that's Divina, DIVINA, worldfoundation.org.
Brilliant. Bless you for coming on, okay?
Thank you so much.
Namaste. Namaste.
Music can save the world. Music can save the world. All get together, music can save the world. Yeah. Music can save the world. Music can save the world. If we all come together, music can save the world. There's an urgency facing our humanity.
Thank you so much for watching. To stay up to date, please click subscribe and hit the bell. You can also join our group on Facebook and find us on LinkedIn and Instagram.